All right.
Okay.
All right. So, welcome, Tanya, to Raw and Cooked Vegan.
Okay. Hey, how are you?
Very nice to have you. Very nice to have you. I stumbled across you the other day and I just said, wow, what an incredible presence. So,
Oh,
it's a
thank you.
pleasure to have you. The way I usually start these, Tanya, is I just would like to hear a little bit about how you were raised. Like, what was your family's orientation towards diet? Did they know much about nutrition and also fitness?
Okay. Well, my mom had me. She was kind of orphaned as a young girl, so it was just her, and she had me at 18. So she basically just did what she knew and did the best she could.
Right.
My mom and dad, and of course, and I was the only child. Just we always ate out. They were busy working. We always just ate it like Ryan's Steakhouse, and everybody had beef tips, and
Yeah.
mashed potatoes and yeast rolls with gravy. And then at
Right.
home, we had fried ham with some red eye gravy. And,
Yep. Yep.
and I was just talking about this morning. I saw the Nest liver mush truck. This liver mush down here in the South. I live in South Carolina, and everybody
Liver mush. Liver
liver mush.
mush.
It comes in a cube, okay, kind of like you think about sausage, but it's a rectangle. And you open it up and you get your livery aroma, and
Gross.
you slice it, and what you do is you have some oil heating up real high on the stove, and you fry up the liver mush, which is ground up liver plus, and then you serve that with some cheese and eggs on some white Wonder Bread,
Oh my
and you
God.
have a meal. So I was raised like that, and basically I liked sugar carbs like Lucky Charms, and I
Yes.
bet every day I ate a box of Lucky Charms doused with whole milk,
Yeah. Yeah.
raw weenies, because that's just what we ate. Nobody thought about it. Nobody. Um, my
Yeah.
my family wasn't really. I don't recall anybody ever saying anything about fitness and nutrition, but as a girl, I had a trampoline and a pool and a go kart. I was kind of a tomboy, so I remained slim because I was very active. Um,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then into my teens, I'm 5'11", so I stretched out. My teenage son's almost 16, and he's like a long beanpole, but it's because he went from wearing a size 8 shoe last year to almost 13. So he's
Wow.
just stretching. That's what happened to me. So
Okay.
basically, that's how my childhood went. Some red eye gravies and some fried liver mush.
And let me ask you before you get into like why you changed. Would you say back then these kind of things, these kind of health issues, they just wouldn't have occurred to you? You just thought that was a normal way to live, and that's the way everybody ate, and didn't question it.
Yes, and if you think about long ago, people didn't eat the mass quantity of food they do now. You
Yeah.
didn't have these huge buffets where people just stuffed and stuffed. And also, if you had potatoes, I mean, my mama would make those, where now you've got who knows what. They're powdered flakes. I mean, that's just on the potato realm. They're
Yeah.
not just a whole potato, Or I think as time goes on, the more toxic chemicals they put in food, the more addiction we get to it, the more
Yeah.
toxins we get trapped in our system. So now that's just how people ate, And I was just at my mom's for Mother's Day dinner yesterday, and
Yeah.
she was talking. I just eat what I eat, Tanya. I'm fine, and so
Yep. I know, and I so much want to hear how you handle those family issues. We'll get into that.
okay.
So tell me what first happened that made you start thinking about an alternative diet.
Well, as I got married, I was married young. I had just turned 22, which was pretty young these days,
Yeah.
and I started going downhill. Like I said, I wasn't vibrant. And on my Instagram, you can look, and I show pictures. Now I'm 42.
Hmm.
Even back when I was 14 or 22, my eyes used to be murky green, and now they're really, really blue, and the whites of them are wake up looking white. They
Yeah.
were they were. I looked like two different people. Not even the size or it in the eyes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like a turning back of time. It's what it is.
Yeah.
But so back to your question, I had gotten married, and as I started to look at having kids and all this, I wasn't getting pregnant. I wasn't able to have a child, and it was a lot of autoimmune disorders had kind of umbrella down on me.
Okay.
During that time of discovering that, I did have a baby, and I had gained all this weight. I had gained up to, probably as a teenager, I might have weighed 140. You know, at 5'11", that's modest, you know, and I
Yeah.
had some
Yeah.
muscle tone, but I skyrocketed up to above 210. That
Wow.
was the last time I weighed myself because I just refused to look at it. But the more weight I gained and the sicker I got, you know, I went to doctor after doctor, and then I had another child. So I had two kids, not even 2 years apart, worked a full-time job every dang day, you know.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
7 o'clock in the morning, I had to be there, and I was dragging around sick and trying to do my life, feeling like death.
Yes.
Doctors could give me no answer. You know, all they could do was just try to put a Band-Aid on the problem, you know.
So would you say you were hovering around 200 when like after you had the children, or was it like you'd have the child and then your weight would go back down, or what?
I You know, I weighed more during pregnancy, but I would get on those scales at the doctor's office and just wouldn't look. I mean, I couldn't even stand to look at myself in the mirror because I couldn't even find a part on my body that I recognized as me. You know,
Yeah.
I can remember having on this little shirt one day and thinking, well, this part of kind of looks like me. I had looked at the back of my hair or something, and you know, as a woman, well, and a man too, but it's just hard when you feel that disconnect from your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as I was sicker and sicker, here's some ailments I had diagnosed with that I lived with every day, and all they wanted to do was do this allopathic medicine, you know, of band-aiding the problem, never getting to the root. And
Yep.
even if they band-aided one autoimmune disorder, it jumped off and came up as something else. So I had anemia so bad, my blood ranged between 4 and 5. You could look at it on the little glass monitoring thing, and it looked like almost like just very vaguely colored water. You know, it was very thin. They wanted to put me on blood infusions.
Wow.
I had lupus. I had arthritis. I mean, I can remember painting the ceiling, and for days my hand was kind of stuck like that.
Wow.
I remember thinking, how am I going to live my life like that? You know, I had 2 little children.
Yep.
I had.
And you're like 22. You're like in your 20s.
I was young. You know.
Yeah.
I had a husband to take care of, you know, and I had a husband who was in the high-powered business world. You know, I needed to be, you know, he's out there, you know, here
Yep.
I am working, and the kids, and, you know, you got to take care of your husband too. I mean, it's a lot of things on me. You know, I had nodular acne, bloody sores, horrid. I mean, like, I would hate to smile because it hurt so bad.
Oh man.
I had almost all my hair fell out on the top. I would have to bobby pin it to cover it up.
Oh.
Severe sinus infections constantly, IBS, leaky gut,
Wow.
mental disturbances to the point there were voices in my head, and these people were not my friends. You know, I would think, I mean, I can remember on many occasions thinking, no one can help me. There's no use for me. And if it was not for those 2 little kids that I knew only had me, I would have run my car off the bridge. I've said that so many times, and I don't think people understand, but it was the pain inside of not being able to escape that.
You know, and I love what you said earlier about you didn't feel like it was your body really. You know, I think a lot of people they just become used to living in these unhealthy bodies. They think it's
Yes.
normal, and it's so cool that you're like, no, this is not right. You know.
I wasn't going to take it anymore. I mean, I was looking at the high school, and I dropped my son off the other day, and I noticed a couple of people getting out of their cars. These people are about my age, probably younger. People can't move. They're encaged in toxins.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Now,
right.
I am free of that now. I feel like I dance around. I feel like I'm a belly dancer. I mean, every movement, I feel, you know.
Well, and it comes through. It comes through, Tanya. Yeah. You just emit energy. It's beautiful.
I feel it too.
Yeah. So you kind of reached this point. You got all these illnesses. The doctors are just treating symptoms, and then what happened?
Okay, so they want to put me on methotrexate, prednisone, all these things. Well, I'm a smart girl. I start researching these things, and I'm like, look at what prednisone, that's just one of the 10 they wanted to put me on, is
Yeah, yeah.
to do to my organs. I need these organs my whole dang life, and I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to, before I do that, that will be my last choice. I'm going to investigate for myself the knowledge of the choices out there. And as I did that, I stumbled across vegetarian. I stumbled across vegan. I started eliminating things, and I would feel, I was a vegan for over 12 years now, but
Huh.
as I went vegan and realized too, like there was this one book, Cleanse and Purify Yourself by Richard Anderson, and it just internalized what, like, for example, when cows go around the turnpike and they're going to be murdered, what happens to them when they see their brothers and sisters going through this, and then I'm ingesting that and it's becoming a part of me.
Yep.
When
That's
I
right.
learned more of those things, it is part of me now.
That's
So,
right.
then I went to more, I was more for a long time on like a Joel Furman eat to live kind of plan, like a beans and greens.
Yep.
It was too much protein. I really didn't heal.
Now
I,
that's interesting. That's very interesting. Too
I
much
was
protein.
maintaining.
Yep.
But it wasn't allowing now had I come from a point where I wasn't so diseased, like I think maybe I might have done okay, but I was beyond that point.
Okay, now let me clarify. So it sounds like you kind of went through your 20s, and then by the time you were in your late 20s or early 30s, you switched to vegan. Did you go?
Yes.
Did you skip vegetarian? Did you go straight to vegan?
I Mostly. I mean, there might have been a couple of weeks, maybe a
Yeah.
couple months maximum. I was just thinking this through this morning. It's been a long time now, but
Yeah.
I wasn't a big one either to eat like soy burgers or those kind of things. Once I knew about the meat, and why would I want to mimic eating meat?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know what I'm
like it.
saying?
Yeah.
I don't need to feel like I'm eating a hamburger. I don't want a hamburger.
Yeah. So
Um,
would you say that when you initially transitioned to vegan, um, was it a gradual process where these illnesses kind of dissipated? Did it happen over a period of years, or did you like notice immediately a lot of changes? How long did it take when you knew that all these autoimmune issues were over?
Well, they sort of just stopped getting worse. You know what
O-
I mean? I was still having all the acne. It was maintaining.
Okay.
Um, as I went raw vegan, as I started learning more and I went raw vegan,
Yep.
they started backing off of me some.
Uh-huh.
But the problem was I didn't have enough knowledge in my database to know I was eating too much fat, to know that nuts, seeds, avocados, yes, those are beneficial components, but we only need so much. And I was eating too much of that. It was sludging down my system and it was not allowing it to heal. Also, I'd had a lot of blood sugar hypoglycemia for years. I'd just fall out in the grocery store constantly. Well, too much fat in your system with the, say, fruit sugar, it bounces around. You can't get it to the cells and it causes blood sugar issues. I didn't know those things.
Yep.
Um, Now, once I learned more, okay, and as I stumbled across more of a 80-10-10, and I had been following Dan McDonald for years, have followed his juicing, and I would notice every time, I mean, I had done 10-day water fast, and I mean just water. I felt like $1,000,000.
Uh-huh.
Though I felt weak, you can't go on. It's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Done 30, 60-day juice fast, green juice smoothie cleanses, blah, blah, blah. But then what?
Wow.
I
Did
need,
you let me ask you that when you did those 10-day water fasts, did you keep working or were you also resting?
I absolutely worked because I didn't have a choice.
Damn, Tanya, that's intense.
Thank you. But I did it, but I'll tell you the truth, even though I felt a little maybe dizzy at some points, and I was careful, because I've always worked at kindergartners and first graders. I was careful getting up and down, I was careful. But frankly, I felt better than when I had been eating and not digesting and all that stuff.
Right.
But I noticed that when I would do these just juice cleanses, even though it would really kind of monkey with my blood sugar.
Yeah.
You have to consume a lot of that, and I frankly couldn't hardly afford it. You go to living on juice for a long time, you better have the money to pocket it.
That's a great point. Great point.
Well,
Let me ask you, when you went vegan, now I know it sounds like you kind of said you were breaking even with the illnesses.
Right.
What about the weight? As soon as you went vegan, did you notice changes in your weight?
Uh, yes, and my weight came down some when I went vegan, and I wasn't one of these people that said, "Well, oh, are Oreos vegan or any of that mess?" I was really like, "Okay, I'm going to steam the broccoli, and I'm going to have these kidney beans that I washed and cooked, and
Wow, yeah.
but yet I was still adding like Earth Balance butter or veganese stuff, transition food. And I don't hate on those things because people come from the point they are down their journey to where they need to be.
That's great. That's
And I
great.
don't know anybody that can step out of the shower today and say, I'm going to go low fat raw vegan today and do it.
Great. I love that point, Tanya. Thank you. Thank you. That's a great point.
Then
Uh, I,
set yourself up for failure.
yeah, and even most of the raw food leaders, most of them had long transition periods.
That's right.
So but anyway, so the weight came down a little, but you were still using too much fat. It sounds like.
Well, and I would just want to eat and eat and eat. It was like I wasn't being satiated by something, but I wasn't getting enough fruit carbs. That's the key to my success. Now, when I went from more of like a Joel Firma plan, I call it that because people kind of know what that is.
Yeah.
And then I went to more raw, but see, I was having more fat because I did not understand how to do it, where to get the calories. I was always hungry.
Yeah.
I stopped losing weight because it was too much fat. Fat you eat's the fat you wear.
And I think what you're alluding to right now is what happens to a lot of people who try vegan and they run into these high fat issues and then they think, I can't do this, I'm going back to eating animal products. I think this is a great point you're talking about.
They have an all or nothing mentality, and I had that for many years, and I've talked about having these food journals. I have one all the time. And now I have a stack of them because I quit throwing them away. I used to like rip the pages out. I wouldn't be perfect this day. I'd rip it out. I'd say, tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day. And guess what? The day never came. It's like yesterday I said on a video, I said, today's Mother's Day. Don't wait until next year when you feel like playing with your kids because they're 5 now and tomorrow they'll be 15. Ask me about it. I'm a grandma,
That's a great point. You seize the day. You do it today. Yeah.
That's right, because where you are today on your journey, are you get more fresh, whole, ripe fruits and vegetables than yesterday? Are you doing a little bit better today? Are you stepping one more rung up your ladder? And if not, if you step down, okay, don't keep on going down. Get back up.
Right. And if you do step down, don't beat yourself up about it, right?
You have to, you know what? If you don't love yourself, no one will.
Amen.
When
Amen.
you love yourself, you emit a vibrancy and a frequency out into this world, and that's what resonates, and that's the people that gravitate to you, and that's the people I want in my life.
That's beautiful, Tanya. I love it. I love it.
Now after I went to raw, and I wasn't losing weight because it was too high fat, and as I learned more and more, I can remember going to Dollywood down here to the Splash Country Park with my mama and kids. And my mom, who's 20 years older than 19 years older than me, she's huffing it up on these water slide steps, and I'm thinking I couldn't hardly breathe because I had too much fat in my system.
Yep. Yep.
So as I started investigating. Knowledge is power. The healing comes from within when you can search yourself and internalize that knowledge. So as I started learning and I stumbled across food and sport and I stumbled across a few of these people
Yep.
That are low carb, high carb, raw vegan,
Yep.
and low fat, that was where it was at for me. And I thought, I'm really going to give this a try. I mapped out a plan. I started really I had a little weigh thing then, weigh in to see how much do these oranges, how many calories, how many sugar carbs, because it's hard to tell. People will say, well, fruit makes me hungry. And my mom will say that. And I'm like, well, Mama, how many oranges did you have this morning? Honey, I can only eat 2. I'm like, well, no wonder you're hungry. That's
right.
just 6 calories,
That's right.
Have oranges, I'm going to have 12.
That's right, Tanya. That's right.
I went on on vacation recently, and my friend had gone to the store, and he brought me back like a couple of mangoes. I'm thinking, dude, I need about 9. I eat a
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, the popular culture, we have this idea that, well, I'll have one banana, I'll have an apple with my lunch, uh, but it's a totally different story if that's your primary source of fuel, and you got to get enough. And it's so satisfying to eat like a mono meal of like you say, like 9 mangoes.
I
What a
love
what
it.
It's a great, it's such a great meal like that. So anyway,
Yeah,
one thing I want you to, you've kind of mapped it out already, but even though this high fat vegan diet was not the ultimate, it had created some benefits. So it was better than what you're doing before. So it's kind of like you progressively got better, and we could say there's a scale, right? There's a you were
definitely.
yeah.
And you have to look, it's so hard to say. Somebody on Instagram will ask me some simple question. I'm thinking it's this huge answer that I don't know how to put down in one sentence.
Yeah.
They might say, well, is it okay if I eat cooked rice? Okay, well, where I am, I'm not going to go back there. But where are you? That's the point. I mean, my daddy eats out at all you can eat restaurants every day, and he eats, fried liver and onions, and that's just how he lives. But he also looks like walking disease, and but what I do is try to, if people ask me, I love to share. I let people do their thing, and I love them where they are.
Beautiful.
Because I don't think if you can't love people where they are, you're never going to help them.
But I totally hear what you're saying. You're saying, like, from your experience and how you've been doing raw for a while, it wouldn't feel good to you to eat like cooked rice or pasta or something like that.
It would bring my vibrancy down, and I really like to get up in the morning, opening my eyes and reaching to get my list because I've already got my ideas going. I mean, my brain functions. I'm not the smartest girl in the world, but it functions on a different level now. And I was talking about the pineal gland the other day, about as you decalcify, and that's like your third eye. And if people don't know what that is, it's a great subject to study. But I
Hmm.
feel like I'm just in tune with different things now.
More
We're sort of
sensitive,
on a
yeah.
different wavelength.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, I totally hear you on that. I guess, I still eat cooked food, but I totally recognize the purity of the raw food scene. And you're not the first person who has said, once you eliminate all the cooked foods, it's kind of like you're going to another level.
It
So
really is.
yeah, yeah.
It's the human psychedelic.
I like
It's
it.
like
I
that.
like it. I like it. Yeah, yeah, and it makes sense from a natural perspective. If you were out in nature and there wasn't all this technology, what would you be eating? You'd be eating raw foods in their natural state.
That's right. And but for people, there's a big movement now in like the raw till four type thing, or you've
Yep.
got rice and corn pasta. And I my digestive disorders, I never processed rice well years ago.
Okay.
Beans, oh Lord.
I don't think anybody processes beans very well.
Yeah, really. But stuff like that, and it would just weigh me down. Or also, it had an addictive property to me. Like if you hear people saying if they go eat Chinese food, they're hungry an hour later.
Yeah,
Well, they ate mostly white rice, and ultimately, white rice has very little nutrition. What I like to do is get the most nutrition per calorie punch.
that's smart.
I
Yeah.
do not restrict my calories. I eat more than any grown man I know. I can eat anybody under the table. I showed on Instagram the other day that looked like I had a banana belly. Normally, that is not where I carry fat now. It's like my hip bone stick out. It looked like I was 6 months pregnant. But then an hour later, it digested. And you know what? I didn't mind because I didn't have to go to that mental place. Oh, fruit's making me fat. No, it's not.
That's right. And let me ask you, Tanya, if you don't mind saying, how much do you weigh now?
I weigh about 124.
See that, man? I mean, that's just a testimony right there. So,
5'11", that's pretty lean. But
that's
And the thing is, it's liberating to be able to wear the same pants you've worn for years. It's liberating to be able to shop at the Goodwill if you want to, and you can find something on the dollar rate that looks good because you know what? You feel good about your body. You don't have to buy the certain brand. I don't need some Versace glasses to make me look good. I just want to be me and be free, you know?
That's an excellent point, Tanya. It's like when your own natural beauty's coming out, it doesn't as much matter what you're putting on the outside because it's just so beautiful. It doesn't. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Isn't it so true? Like the most attractive people to me, female or male, will be the people that are so confident. They have the yin and yang coming together in one, and they're just doing their own dang thing. I find that so awesome. If like there's a cyclist dude and he could be 20, 40, or 60 or 80, and he's just like in his own element and just, I just think that's the best thing.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So it sounds like you were doing kind of a Joel Furman high protein vegan thing, and it wasn't quite the best. And then you started thinking about higher carb, higher fruit intake, and did you start applying that and see the results?
When I started applying that, um, what I did, I got a book, High Energy Diet, I think it's called. It's by Doug Graham. And of course, I had read his 80-10-10, which really drove it home to me. And I thought, I'm going to do the whole dang thing. I'm not going to waste all these years, all this money and effort, all my brain power funneling in, and then half do anything. That is a waste of my life where I can make my life worth something and make these years stand for where I have gotten to, you know?
Yep, yep.
So when I went more of an 80-10-10 style, I dropped weight like that. I mean, I have to really, I pack in the calories.
Yep.
But I mean, I used to have cellulite bad on the back of my arms, sort of on my hips, my rear end, my thighs. I have zero cellulite. I have like, I mean, I have a little bit more curvy figure to begin with, but now I have not really lost chest and rear so much, just everywhere else. You know, it's like curvy where you're supposed to be curvy, you know?
Right, right, right.
And then like I do rebound. I'm not a big die-hard workout person. I just don't. I rebound maximum 20 minutes a day.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll skip a day. I do 100 squats a day with some little weights.
Damn.
Because, you know, when you're 42, let's get the bottoms up, you know? I mean, gravity will take over, you know? And I do crunches. Or, you know, when I'm on the rebounder, I may, you know, do some side things. And every time I turn, I'm mindful of that zone, you know?
Yep, 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 yep.
But I think for detoxifying and toning up, I mean, I have no loose skin. You know, I used to be real thick through here, and I don't have like those jowls coming down like you would think. You know, as people get older, they just develop a certain look and a certain tiredness.
Yeah, did you as this weight started flying off, did that kind of surprise you? And and I bet you had did you ultimately have people saying, "Boy, Tanya, you're losing too much weight, girl."
You're too skinny. You look like a skeleton, Tanya. You are. Oh, you've lost too much weight. Yes. I'm like, well, I saw myself in the mirror and I was looking pretty dang good this morning.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Because I'm not really affected. Like I don't let external comments change my internal environment.
Yeah.
I just don't. I have a buffer zone against that, you know, and even if it's down to the simple thing of just thinking, well, bless their heart, they just don't know.
Well, I guess they haven't been looking at magazine covers because pretty much look like those models on those magazine covers.
Hey, thanks.
And I think
That, but
and I think also, you know, you're kind of you're bringing up something that happens within the broader culture is there's an accepted normal that is not healthy. You know, people,
yes.
the average is above their normal weight, so they think being fat is normal.
Well, my daughter, who is almost 18, she does have a child now, and you know, where she's had a baby, her little baby's only 5 months old, so she still has a little bit of what I would call on her more of a thickness, but compared to all her teenage friends, she looks like a walking supermodel, where she's like, well, I'm not going to wear this She likes to wear little half shirts and stuff. I'm not going to wear that because I'm not quite as thin as I would like, or whatever. And I'm saying, well, you look beautiful. But the thing is, what you're saying, that's the norm. All these teenage girls, young adults, grown women walking around with this midsection tire hanging out, like that is another beautiful curve on their body. This is not the way women are, and I'm not hating on that. It is not the way women are designed. And, ultimately, this is a sort of twisted thing, but I think it contributes to child pornography. That's a big debate, but, there are very few women-looking women anymore. They're all cylinders. You really have to back it way down to find slim people, and it becomes almost like young girls. You know what I'm saying?
Huh.
That's just a little take I've had on that recently.
That's interesting. I mean, that's very interesting. Yeah, and I think can be challenging for guys. It's hard to assess the age of women.
It's very hard. And I mean, say you've got a 10, 11-year-old girl that's made up, and she has on her short shorts and she has a cute figure, because she's a girl, but she's dressed like an older girl. And then you've got these 20-year-olds that are rolling in fat. Men notice that, and I mean, that's just a little side note, and there's a whole other ball game of that. But
yeah, that's interesting.
The point is, we're not meant to live in that body, in that state of being sluggish. We're meant to be able to be fluid and free.
Okay.
And what about the people saying out into the air like, well, maybe I can do this, or I don't know, it's just a lot of trouble, maybe I'll make it happen. When they need to be breathing out into the air what they want to happen, like, I'm going to be vibrant and healthy. Make a plan. If you make a plan today and you stick to it, map it out and put it on your refrigerator. Make some copies, put one in your car, one at work, wherever you go, wherever you might eat at.
Yeah.
And follow that plan, and in a year from now, you'll be different. But if you don't have a plan and you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results.
That's great. That's great. And that's a powerful thing. It's so true. Whenever I do accomplish something, it's because I've done exactly what you've said. And when I don't accomplish stuff, it's because I have not done that.
Right. So, yeah, me too.
But there's so many questions I want to ask you. So you saw this weight flying off, and did you also find that when you started doing the high carb thing, the high fruit intake, that all the other illnesses just faded into the back? They disappeared.
They disappeared. Yeah. I have not one ailment anymore. It was about, I would say, about 6 months strong on low-fat raw vegan.
Yep.
And they were all gone. My eyes changed, my skin changed, hair changed, my nails, they used to be so fragile. I could use them as screwdrivers now, though not in a brittle way. Just flexible, very healthy, I don't have any mucus. I never have to clean my ears. I don't have to wear deodorant. I mean, it's just like, it's amazing. It's how we're supposed to be.
It's incredible. It's phenomenal. And I love what you're saying about the eyes. I think perhaps some women don't know this, but and you speaking of models on magazine covers, sometimes you can look at their eyes and they're not real clean. They can have a real physically attractive body, but their eyes aren't real clean. So
yes.
I think what you're saying, Christina, Fully Raw Christina has a nice video on this, her eye color changing over time. And I think that's right. I think you get back to this kind of pure clarity in the eye. Iridology is based on all this,
It's like when I look at my grandbaby's eyes, he still has that very pure look. The whites are pure. There's no veining. Mine have become like that over time. Even it could be, we have bad pollen down here, and it's like that now. It doesn't affect me.
That's amazing. And did you used to have allergy problems with the pollen?
Yes, I wasn't a huge sufferer, but I definitely suffered with the mucus, and I had lots of sinus infections, and thus going on antibiotics, killing all the good bacteria.
Yep.
In there too,
Right.
Letting all the bad thrive, and I developed candidias, all these things,
Right. Right. Okay, so you came into this raw thing, and would you say, is a typical day for you like a high fruit breakfast, a high fruit lunch, and then maybe even a little fruit before a big salad in the evening? Is that kind of your approach, or do you mix it up? Or
Yes, I usually will have a couple of smoothies too, so I can really get in my calories.
yep,
I also do eat banana ice cream, with some frozen bananas, and I love celery because it's a good potassium sodium combination.
okay,
It keeps the colon moving too, and I think it's very satisfying, that two combination. Usually, when I'm going to have fruit smoothies, I pack some greens in there because I am big on the greens. I want to get 2 pounds in every day.
yep.
Uh, Greens are where the healing is, and so I.
And can you list those greens for me? Like, would it be maybe baby spinach, kale, some of the lettuces?
I'm not so much with the lettuce in my smoothies. I don't care for that foam it creates.
Okay,
But I'll even do collard greens, or the different kind of kale I'm big on, and the different kind of spinach usually for my smoothies.
okay,
Um, so I'll have those during the day. Later in the day, I'll have probably some fruit. Sometimes I'll have dates, but I'm not huge on just eating those alone. My body knows when I'm eating those more dense, kind of dehydrated down foods,
yep.
even if they're fresh. I drink a gallon of water a day, and when I eat those foods, I can tell. I like water-rich foods. So then at night, I have a huge salad. I don't have my bowl over here, but this thing's huge.
Yeah,
Might be a couple of heads of romaine lettuce. It'll be all these vegetables. I make my own dressing. If I'm going to have fat that day, I'll have maybe half of an avocado
mm-hmm.
with some other veggies and little things, herbs. Blend it up. There you go. My
Beautiful.
favorite dressing is red pepper and mango. Tastes just like French dressing every time.
I've been wanting to make that. Yeah.
It's good. It's so easy, and you can throw a different little herbs in there. It changes the flavor a little bit. But what else could you need? Now, I do make a dehydrated chia cracker, which I mix with either like some carrot or zucchini to cut the fat some, but great for your omega-3 fatty acids.
Yep.
If I'm gonna have the chia crackers at night, and I don't have to eat the whole dehydrator full, that's too much fat.
Yep.
Always mindful, and I'm always mindful of food combination. So if I'm gonna have those chia crackers, I'm not going to use a whole bunch of avocado in there too. I'm gonna have more like a little tomato sandwich type of thing.
Right. That's smart. Yep.
And I do make kale chips. I don't put oil or anything. I just wash the kale. I massage it with lemon juice to kind of loosen it up. I put it in there. Sometimes I'll sprinkle on some chili powder and paprika. It gives it kind of a Dorito taste.
Cool.
Dehydrate those. So it's like I have things that if I want more of a chip type thing, I've got the kale chips. If I want more of a cracker, I've got the chia cracker. If I want something heavier like a pizza, I have a pizza crust I'm making. It is not, when I was on higher fat, I might would think, oh, well, I'll combine these nuts and dates, and that isn't a bombo combo. You have to learn, you got to learn about this food combining and all,
Yep. Yep.
so that you feel good. Your body only has so much vital force, and when it's having to put all of it towards digestion,
That's
there's
right.
not much left, for dancing.
Would you say? Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right.
Would you say that some of the essential machines for, well, of course you don't have. Let's say you don't have to have any special machines to
Right.
eat this kind of way,
I
but,
use a knife sometimes.
right, a knife, yeah. But if you do have some extra resources and you want to do some of these kinds of things, would you say a Vitamix and you've got a dehydrator and anything else you'd recommend?
Um,
Do you use a Vitamix? Do you have a Vitamix?
I have a Vitamix. I only recently got that. I had got a bunch of different gift cards for Christmas last year, and I got it. But I had an Omni blend before then, which I got much cheaper, and I bought it refurbished. I want to say I paid about $175 for it.
All right.
That is a high-speed blender, and it is good. I
Okay.
used it for many years. Now, I don't know about heating up things. Like sometimes in the winter, when you're a thin girl, you get cold too, So I
Yeah.
like a little bit warmer soup. That will, again, implement like that's a backup plan. If I think I am freezing, I have got to have something, then I will mindfully only blend it up to maybe 108 degrees. The Vitamix will warm things.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, and you can use a little thermometer in there because
Okay.
you don't want to go above that because you are killing the enzymes. So
Right.
no enzymes are harmed in this process, blending it up to a little bit of warmth. But the Vitamix is good for that. I have mine is this Culinary Institute professional. I don't know if you can see that, but it
Yeah.
has the on and off, and this is the variable speed, which I wasn't sure I was going to use or not. That one was a little bit more, and I got it just because my gift cards would let me do it. But
Yeah.
glad I got that now because you can kind of sometimes you want to crank it up and then let it rest.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
just on off.
So you use it a lot to make your smoothies,
I
and
use that thing 3 times a day.
okay.
That's the best investment I've ever made. I have an Excalibur dehydrator.
Okay.
Spray. I would suggest that one. I have had some like Walmart brand and that kind of thing before. Well, not their brand, but one sold there, and they're just very inconsistent.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it. I would just save up to get the Excalibur, but that is an extra. You know what I mean? You don't have to have it.
Right. Now, let's see. What was I going to ask you? I'm going to throw out a couple of uh, vitamins and minerals and that sort of thing, and I want you to give me your take on them in terms of like what you've read and studied and what you've decided for yourself on them.
Okay.
So the first is B12.
I don't supplement with B12. Upon being tested over the years, I've never had a deficiency in it.
Okay.
Of course, we know that B12 deficiency is no more prominent in the vegetarian, vegan, raw vegan world than in the standard American diet or whatever diet. So,
Right.
people are always talking about that, but it's just because basically they can't hardly find anything wrong with this diet, so they're just going to throw out anything they can because people just lack the knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like, our body creates B12 by beneficial bacteria, and say you're going to eat some organic produce.
Okay.
Don't scrub it all the way. Like down at the bottom of the celery, you know how there'll be a little bit of dirt, not enough to taste, but in there is like millions of beneficial bacteria. Consume that.
I love that, Tanya. That's a great point.
And I'm not always able, I would love to say I constantly eat all organic. I cannot afford it. I get it when I can, and I try to buy it from local Carb market that I can talk to the dude as he delivered it, and well, what do you use? And for them to be certified organic, it costs them money.
Yep.
Maybe they really are organic, but they don't have the certification. I found that a lot of times.
Right.
So down in there, or in the little stem of the apple, there's a little bit of dirt. You can't taste it, but it lets your body create that B12.
Okay. So when you get a blood test, do you get that UMMA, or you just get a blood test and they say it's fine?
Just the basic blood test. They used to come to my school, and that would be this whole battery that would cost about $700, and we could get it for $15. So that is the only reason I even went, because I'm going to go to the doctor when my arm's been cut and I need to be sewn up.
That's right. That's the only reason to go. I'm so with you on that. Yeah. Stay away from doctors.
So that's why I know, and it's fine. And you can look up on the internet symptoms of B12, which also, of course, mimic a lot of other things too. But
Yeah.
if you feel like you're B12 deficient, start supplementing. If you feel better in a few days, go for it. And if you don't feel any different, you probably weren't deficient.
Yeah, that's great. It's very
cheap,
very practical, common sense. I love it. All right. How about vitamin D? Vitamin D.
Well, I try to get exposure to the sun every day. I'm
Yep.
like a lizard. I mean, if the sun's out, I'm like, how can I get out there?
Yeah.
That's not a big area I've studied a lot in. I feel like I get all the things I need from fresh, ripe fruits and vegetables.
Okay. So.
And I do consume the sunlight.
Okay. And let me ask you one last one. And since you're saying that, it's probably irrelevant, but iodine. Have you ever read anything on iodine?
I know that most people in this world can be iodine deficient.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I recently watched a little documentary thing, and I forget this guy's name. I could kick myself. He goes to the Woodstock Fruit Festival. He's got really curly hair.
Don Bennett?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
He has a great talk about that, and I want to think he is talking to John Kohler.
Okay, okay.
They have an interview, and that is the most awesome talk, and he can tell you all about that and what to do, because iodine is one of those things. If you're like one of these people and you're not able to lose those last 10 pounds, or you're not feeling quite right, it could be that. But it could also be that if you're on a standard American diet,
That's right.
you can get that through seaweed and different things. But if you start supplementing with iodine, it's not like if you take too much B12 and you don't need it, your body's just going to flush it out.
Yeah.
Not the case with iodine. So
right.
I wouldn't want to throw out too many recommendations on that, but I would recommend watching he and John Kohler talk about that, because he pretty much lays it on the line.
Okay. And do you occasionally eat a little bit of seaweed?
Occasionally I will eat some winter dulse.
Okay, okay.
And I think that there's some controversy about whether that's contaminated by the oceans or not, though I have found in the past that it helped me get some minerals, some trace minerals that I felt like I was lacking.
Okay.
So I think there's definitely a place for it. And I think if you are a person that can't get off the salt, that winter dulse will cure that craving.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Also, lemon juice. You can put lemon juice in anything and it will give a salty flavor. I know that sounds weird, but it really does.
No, that makes sense. That's a great tip. Do you have any idea about how many calories you eat per day?
People always ask me that. I'm not really one to weigh everything now, but I would estimate around 3,000.
Okay.
I've never dipped below probably 2,700, and a lot of times might eat 4,000. I eat as much as I want, as many times as I want. I do try to have 3 meals,
Yep.
because I'm careful to, if I'm going to have a fruit smoothie if I had that at 4 o'clock and then I want to eat again and have a salad with avocado at 5, I don't know how that's going to combine. The fruit's probably going to have moved on through, but I don't want any problems.
Yeah.
For years, I lived with a bloated belly. I live this lifestyle, and I want to look lean,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, okay. Um, so, what was I going to ask you? Oh, eating celery with the banana smoothie. Now, sometimes I've noticed if I eat some cereal in the morning and then I eat a big banana smoothie later in the day, that doesn't work very well.
Right. What kind of cereal are you eating?
Like a whole wheat, like a shredded wheat kind of thing with nothing else in it.
Just what can happen is that's a grain, and here you've got this grain car moving along like Scooby-Doo when they're doing the coal cars,
Yeah.
Going along. And then you've got this fruit smoothie coming in, this more like a little locomotive.
Yeah.
It's going to move faster than this, so it's a bad food combining, If I were going to do that, I would have the fruit smoothie in the morning, because that's going to digest at such a quicker rate than have the other a little later.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you had it like an hour and a half later, you'd probably be fine.
Okay, that's a great point. Okay. And you said you drink a gallon of water a day. How about sleep? What's your take on sleep?
I feel best if I get up early. I get up at 4:30 latest. Maybe 5 on the weekend. I'll push it to 5. But if I go to bed at 9, I feel great. Okay. Sometimes I'll push it out till 10, but I just don't sit up all night trolling around the internet. I just leave the technology in the other room. I make sure it's dark, like it should be.
That's great. Now I'm curious. You talked a little bit about your daughter. Has your daughter embraced some of these ideas in terms of diet, and the rest of your family? Have you influenced them?
Well, like I said, my dad, he's eating liver and onions, and he's eating, so he's like, yeah. But my mom, she's a really light eater, and she's kind of a small, little bitty lady, but, I try to talk to her about the effects of lack of minerals and nutrients and things on the mind, and she's 62 now, and when I see these things taxing her, it really bothers me because I know that I have the answer.
Yeah.
Only when she asks me do I try to elaborate on that, or I think people just turn a deaf ear to that. Now, my son, he is aware of, he will eat some meat if I don't fix it.
Yes.
My daughter, she doesn't live with me now. She has a family of her own, but my son and I, he's almost 16, and he will drink some green smoothies, and he will eat a little more vegetables. And he was always a real picky kid, like he would eat peanut butter sandwich and don't touch it. So for him, he's really expanding. He is very open to my thoughts on it. And I've said before, if you grow up and you're diseased, what would you do? And he said, I would ask you because you have the answer.
That's right. All right. That's great.
A lot of times, until people have the need, they don't have the need.
That's right. That's
They
right.
don't understand. They really don't understand. Now, my daughter, who is high raw vegan, occasionally she will have some cheese on something. I mean, a rare occasion. But yet, young, starting out, it's what can she afford, that kind of thing. And I've really tried to steer her to like the corn pasta if she has to do that, or instead of the cheese or whatever. But she really tries, and because of that, she does have a baby at her age, and she's slim and she's very gorgeous, and she feels like getting up all night with that child, and she feels like she also has a different mental outlook too, just because she hasn't eaten meat since she was 6 years old.
Wow. That's awesome. That's
The
awesome.
more I read and learned, girls are more in tune to that at that age. My little boy's throwing his trains against the wall. And she's listening to me, and the more I learn, the more she learned. And if she thinks meat is in something, she, even in some sauce blended up, no way. She would
Yes.
starve first.
That's a great. And is she raising her family that way?
Well, she's got her baby. He's just started eating a little bit of solid food. So he's doing a little bit of vegetables, and she's got one of those little baby bullets.
Uh-huh.
So she's trying to make the baby food, and she's really trying to do, greens in there and the fruit, and she's doing a good job. She really is. And she did have to move him to formula, but she nursed him for a while. And I nursed both my kids for over a year each, and neither one of them ever ate. They only nursed exclusively, and I was working and everything else. But
Wow. Wow.
so when she comes to me with like, well, how much should he be eating? I don't know. I never did that. My kids went from milk to then they had a little cereal after a year old.
How do you work a full-time day and still nurse? Did you have the babies with you? Yes.
Well, at that time, I used to do nails. I was a manicurist.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to, I worked in a shop for many, many years. And then after I had the second child, I moved my business home.
Okay.
And I would have people drying, and I would be in the other room nursing. I made it work, and with my first child, nobody I knew nursed. And I was her personal pacifier. That's how she went to sleep. It was like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there,
Oh, that's
thinking,
beautiful.
can people just get off me,
You probably come across Karen Ramsey and Raising Healthy Children.
Yes.
She's got some great information on that, and just
It really does.
the power of breastfeeding, and I forget the term she uses, but it's something about the intimacy with the child that's so critical for the child's development.
It is such a bonding experience. There's nothing that could take that from me.
Yeah.
That time, and my kids never even took one bottle. That's all, they just nursed, and it is a bonding experience like nothing else. That's why my mom was telling my daughter, oh, don't nurse because, then your body's not your own. And of course, she didn't nurse me, so she didn't understand. She's like,
Yeah.
and then your chest may sag and all this. No, it won't. The body goes back. And furthermore, you want to lose weight after a baby. Every time the baby nurses, your uterus realizes, oh, it's time to go back, and it tightens up.
Very
every
interesting.
time the baby nurses.
Very interesting. Fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. Women are designed to nurse. Yeah.
That's right.
I'm going to ask you two more things. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much, Tanya, for giving me so much of your time.
I enjoyed it.
Did you over the years? It sounds like initially you went on this road for health reasons. Have you over time come to appreciate the ethical aspects in terms of animals? Well, you mentioned this a little bit. Yeah, when an animal truck is going down the road, you're taking that energy in. Yeah. So what? Tell us about that.
I really do. I mean, now I see it a whole different way. And just like on Mother's Day, I think of how what happens to these infant animals and what happens to the moms and how they're just ripped from them. And, you see these pictures and I choose not to look away. I choose and want to feel that pain so that it can re-internalize in me every day. And every time I see those images, people just look away. But as a child, I've always been an animal lover. I mean, I had so many pets and being an only child, my dogs were my best friends. And, I was always with them. They were always there no matter what.
Yep, yep.
But I didn't realize, like, this chicken I was eating, I didn't make that connection. Just like when I was at the schools working, and I would say, do you know what's in that? Kids would be like, chicken nuggets are made from what? They hear it's called chicken nuggets, but
Yeah, yeah, it's abstract. Yeah, they don't see what's behind it. Yeah, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I forget the guy's name, but he goes into different schools. I forget his name, but he shows what's in these processed things that the kids are eating, and some of it's even like cardboard products put into this. No wonder our world is so deranged and so sick,
Yeah, it's really horrifying. I saw this thing the other day, Dr. McDougall. They take the cows that die in these facilities and they grind them up and they put them back in the food. That is
Yes.
horrifying, horrifying.
Also, I think it's the state of California. The euthanized dogs and cats are ground up and sold as feed to the cows.
Jesus. Yeah,
That's pretty bad.
that's evil, man. That's gross.
It is evil, and a lot of those animals could have even been sick or different things. And I mean, the cows have no choice but to eat. And every time I see somebody eating a chicken leg, do you know that 99% of chicken legs all have maggots in them? Of course, they're dead because they've been fried in the boiler vat. But the thing is, the chickens are so packed in there and so crazed that they're pecking at each other and they're pecking at each other's legs. They can't hardly move. Flies swarming around, laying their eggs in the nice warm open wound, maggots in there. The chickens killed, legs into the vat, and then you're eating maggots. So
That is
people are
so
like,
disgusting.
people down here, you got country boys saying, I'm going to have my beer and chicken legs. I'm thinking, we'll do it, but I hope you know what you're eating. I mean, what do you say?
A side of maggots with your chicken leg?
That's right. And my daughter's like, if you knew what was in that, you wouldn't eat it.
That's awesome. And then also kind of in conjunction with that, what's your take on the environmental aspects of living this way?
Well, of course, it's less toll on the world,
Yeah.
Look at all the crops, all that it takes to just feed the cows that we're going to slaughter, and look at the little bit of meat and product we're going to get from that. In Diet for a New America, John Robbins, I think it is, he shows and maps out how world famine could end if people would quit eating meat.
Amen. That's right. That's
That
right.
pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
Tanya, you are a pleasure. Thank you for your
Pleasure.
time. Well, I'll put your YouTube channel down here. Is there any other websites you want to tell the audience about where they can find more information about you?
I don't guess. I'm in the process of maybe setting up a website, but I'm doing some coaching on the side now, and also I kind of do that through my YouTube inbox. I'm just low key.
All right. All right. Well, more power to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.